Santiago del Carmen Maria, the queen of crowning thoughts. I speak truth unapologetically. It's my...
The eviction crisis has exploded. Millions of retired Americans are being forced into homelessness in 2026. This is not a slow burn problem. It's a full-blown catastrophe unfolding right now in early 2026. Retired Americans who spent decades working, paying taxes, and building this country are suddenly facing eviction notices, skyrocketing rents, and the terrifying reality of sleeping on the streets or in cars because their fixed incomes from Social Security or pensions can't keep up with brutal housing costs. The golden years are turning into a nightmare of instability, health decline, and despair for millions. Older adults are the fastest-growing segment of the homeless population, with projections showing numbers surging toward 225,000 by the end of this year and tripling by 2030 if nothing changes. We're talking about people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, many experiencing homelessness for the first time after a lifetime of stability, now pushed over the edge by a rigged system that prioritizes corporate profits over human dignity. The statistics are damning and heartbreaking. According to recent HUD data, around 20% of people experiencing homelessness in America, roughly 146,000, are 55 or older, with many entering this crisis late in life due to traumatic events like the death of a spouse, sudden health issues, or simply rents exploding beyond what fixed incomes can handle. Adults over 50 now make up nearly half of single homeless adults, a dramatic shift from just 10 to 11% in the early 1990s. Shelters and streets are filling with seniors who have accelerated aging health conditions equivalent to people 20 years older, because chronic stress, poor nutrition, and exposure wreck bodies faster than time alone ever could. Nearly half of those over 55 live unsheltered, in places not meant for human habitation, without ramps, accessible beds, or basic accommodations for mobility problems. At the heart of this disaster is the crushing rent burden on fixed incomes. Over 35 million older adults spend more than half their limited income on housing alone, and about one-third, around 11.2 million senior households, are severely cost-burdened, paying over 30%, often 50% plus, on rent or mortgage. Social Security averages around $1,500, $2,000 monthly for many retirees, yet average rents exceed $1,300, $1,500 in many areas, leaving almost nothing for food, medicine, utilities, or emergencies. When a medical bill hits or a rent increase arrives, and they are arriving fast, with some cities seeing 20% plus spikes, the choice becomes grim: skip prescriptions, cut meals, or face eviction. Many seniors on SSI get even less, around $914 monthly in recent years, while rents soar unchecked. Evictions are surging as pandemic-era protections have vanished. Filings are back to or above pre-pandemic levels in many places, with older renters particularly vulnerable because they lack the flexibility of younger workers. In cities like Phoenix, eviction rates for seniors have jumped 20%, and nationwide, nearly 170,000 seniors 65 plus face eviction threats annually. 1 in 9 renters over 50 gets hit with filings every year, hundreds of thousands at risk. These aren't bad tenants. They're retirees on fixed budgets who can't absorb hikes without help that rarely comes. Legal protections are weak. The Fair Housing Act doesn't stop evictions based on income, leaving low-income seniors exposed. Once evicted, finding new housing is near impossible with background checks, credit hits, and landlord biases against older or disabled applicants. This crisis hits hardest among marginalized groups. Black and Latino seniors face disproportionate burdens due to lifelong wealth gaps, lower retirement savings, and systemic discrimination, making them far more likely to end up homeless. Many first-time homeless seniors are triggered by a single crisis: widowhood, job loss in later years, or health decline that drains savings. Shelters aren't equipped, lacking memory care for dementia, mobility aids, or medical support, leaving vulnerable people in dangerous situations. The root cause is clear: a broken system where housing is treated as a commodity for profit, not a human right. Affordable housing shortages are acute. Waitlists for Section 202, supportive housing for the elderly, are years long, and federal programs reach only a fraction of those in need. Budget proposals threaten to slash rental assistance further, potentially cutting millions from vouchers and pushing more seniors out. Meanwhile, corporations and landlords jack up rents while wages stagnate and Social Security adjustments, like the recent 2.8% COLA, fall short of real cost increases. This is unacceptable in the richest nation on earth. Retirees deserve security after a lifetime of contributions, not fear of the streets. We need urgent action. Expand Section 202 and housing choice vouchers. Strengthen eviction protections with just cause requirements and right to counsel. Raise SSI/SSDI to livable levels. Cap rent increases for fixed-income seniors, and fund aging-capable shelters with medical and mobility supports. Area agencies on aging and continuums of care must collaborate more, offering eviction prevention, landlord mediation, and rapid rehousing. Communities can step up with emergency funds, but the federal government must lead, prioritize people over profits, enforce fair housing, and end this gray wave before it drowns millions more. The eviction crisis isn't coming, it's here, and it's stealing dignity from our elders. Demand change now. Contact lawmakers, support advocacy groups, and push for policies that protect the vulnerable. Our seniors built this country. They deserve to age with safety and respect, not in fear of homelessness. Americans are reaching their breaking point. The cost of living is crushing us, and now being homeless is a crime. What the hell are we supposed to do? People are done. Absolutely done. In early 2026, millions of everyday Americans are teetering on the edge, mentally and financially shattered by a cost of living nightmare that refuses to let up. Rents devour paychecks, groceries force impossible choices between eating and paying bills, utilities spike while wages barely budge, and healthcare costs threaten to bankrupt families. This isn't tight times or belt-tightening. It's a relentless squeeze that's turning survival into a daily battle, and folks are hitting their absolute breaking point. Surveys from late 2025 into now show the raw truth. 70% of Americans say the cost of living in their area is unaffordable for the average family, with 70% feeling financially squeezed at least some of the time each month. Nearly half report their finances are worse than a year ago, and consumer sentiment has tanked to recession-era levels. People are skipping meals, delaying doctor visits, raiding savings just to cover basics, and piling on debt because there's no other way out. This is the breaking point, where hope fades, anger builds, and people start asking the brutal question: what exactly are we supposed to do when we literally can't afford to live? The numbers expose the cruelty. Inflation may have cooled to around 2.7% overall, but essentials remain punishing. Food prices forecast to rise another 2.3 to 2.7% in 2026, with away-from-home dining up 3.3 to 3.9%. Groceries have climbed 32% since 2019, outpacing wage growth for most. Utilities average $265 monthly, up 12% in a year, with electricity projected to surge 8.5% due to AI data centers and grid demands. Housing, a disaster, rents up 50% since 2017 in many spots, with over half of renters severely cost-burdened, paying more than 30%, often 50% plus, of income on shelter. Healthcare premiums are set to explode in 2026 for 250 million people as subsidies expire, pushing costs far beyond wage increases or Social Security adjustments. Wages. Only 12% of workers say pay has kept pace with inflation. Real hourly earnings are down, and 67% live paycheck to paycheck, up from last year. Half of Americans have tapped savings for daily survival, a quarter skipped medical care, and nearly everyone feels the weight, especially working-class families who make the hardest trade-offs, switching to cheaper, often worse, food or going without. This isn't personal failure, it's systemic robbery. Corporate profits hit records while executives hoard billions, passing every cost increase to consumers. Policies favor the wealthy, tariffs jack up prices further, and safety nets get gutted. The result: a nation where 82% expect the cost of living to keep rising over the next 2 years, including majorities across party lines. People are angry, exhausted, and increasingly hopeless. They work multiple jobs, skip vacations, delay dreams, and still fall behind. When basics like food, heat, and a roof become luxuries, life feels meaningless. The breaking point isn't coming, it's here, and it's manifesting in despair, rage, and desperation. And then, just when things couldn't get more vicious, the system doubles down. Being homeless is now effectively illegal in more places than ever. Thanks to the Supreme Court's 2024 Grants Pass v. Johnson ruling, a 6-3 decision along ideological lines, cities can criminalize sleeping, camping, or even sitting in public spaces, even when no shelter exists. The conservative majority declared these laws don't violate the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment because they punish conduct, not status. Justice Sotomayor nailed the horror in her dissent. It leaves people with an impossible choice: stay awake or be arrested. Sleep is a biological necessity, yet now it's a crime if you're poor and unhoused. The fallout has been swift and devastating. In the year since the ruling, over 320 bills have been introduced across the country to criminalize homelessness, with nearly 220 passing. Cities ramp up sweeps, fines, arrests, and property destruction, throwing away tents, blankets, and belongings while ignoring the root cause: a massive shortage of affordable housing. Bans on public sleeping, sitting, loitering, or living in vehicles have exploded since the decision, making it harder for people to survive on the streets. Advocates warn this will isolate the unhoused, increase vulnerability to crime, and make escaping homelessness even tougher, with criminal records blocking jobs and housing. It's punishment for poverty, not solutions. The government collects taxes from us all, but when we can't afford life and end up on the streets, we're the criminals. That logic is twisted. It's designed to hide the failure, sweep people out of sight, and protect profits over people. So what are we supposed to do? The system offers no real answers, just more punishment. We can't pull ourselves up when wages stagnate, costs explode, and help is slashed. We organize, demand change, and fight back. Push for rent caps, living wages that actually match reality, expanded affordable housing, stronger protections against evictions, and real healthcare reform. Boycott gougers, support unions, vote out enablers of corporate greed, and build community networks for mutual aid. Homelessness isn't a crime, it's a policy failure. Criminalizing it won't fix the crisis, it'll just make it worse. We deserve better than this dystopia where surviving is illegal if you're broke. The breaking point is here, time to turn rage into action before more lives are destroyed. Follow so we can stay connected. Your support matters more than you know, and I appreciate every moment you give to listen. Your support is important to me, and it helps me a lot. It keeps me active, bringing you important information with your support and comments, likes and shares. Feel free to like, support, and subscribe. I will always provide content for you. I appreciate every support you give. Crowning Thoughts, True Speaker, Copyright 2025 by Santiago D.C. Maria, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution. I love you all and I appreciate each of you. Stay blessed. Thank you for listening. Love always. Santiago D.C. Maria.